Hello, hello. Welcome back. Welcome to Module 2 of Evolve Beyond Limits Academy. I'm glad that you're here. I am excited about what unfolded in the first call for you, what came up for you. What did you learn about yourself? What stuck out to you the most? We're just getting started. So, as we go into Module 2, we're going to talk a lot. Hold on. Before we go there, here's what I want you to do. Before we go anywhere, I want you to actually put me on pause here in a moment after I tell you what you're going to do. Okay. And I want you to take a moment to write down, or if you'd rather, just close your eyes and visualize. What do you want your life to look like? And whenever you do anything like this is not a game of wouldn't it be realistic if. You learned that in the happiness exercise. This is what would I have if anything and everything was a possibility for me? Because I want you to start to adopt the fact that that's true. And it might be hard for you to believe right now. However, what you can have in this life is so far beyond what you think. And so we're starting to shift that and activate that within you already. So put me on pause and write it down, visualize it, do both if you want. I want you to really feel in to what do you want out of this life? What do you want this life to look like? What do you want this life to feel like? So go ahead and pause me, and we're going to pick back up here in a minute. Okay. I hope that you were able to take that time. Give that time to yourself. Some people find this exercise difficult. And if that's you, that's okay. Feel free to share that. But the reason that I wanted you to do this is because there's got to be something that you're working towards. We've got to be able to dream and see something different if we want to be able to create something different. And that's that vision. And what we need in our life is action towards vision. And if there is no vision, what are we going after? And why are we taking all these action steps? One of my favorite quotes is action without vision is only passing time. Vision without action is merely daydreaming. But vision combined with action can change the world. We have to be able to see what we want. We have to be able to write it down. We have to be able to share it. And then we need to have the courage to start putting action steps towards it in order to make this happen in your life. And today, what we're going to talk about is why don't we? What are the things that are stopping you from getting where you want to go? And before I go there, I just want to tell you this quick story because I think it's a really great interpretation of what a lot of us do. Is we sit and we hope and we want and we desire something different. But what are we willing to do to get there? Are you willing to sit through 8 modules? Are you willing to do the action steps? Are you willing to dig deep? Are you willing to take time with every single journal prompt and every meditation? What are you willing to do? Because it's not just going to fall in your lap. So here's a story. There's a poor man. He goes to church every single day, and he goes to the statue of this great saint. And he says to the saint, "Saint, please, please, please give me a chance to win the lottery." And this goes on for months, months and months and months. He asks, "Please, please, great saint, give me a chance to win the lottery." And finally, the exasperated statue comes to life and sits in front of the begging man and says, "My son, please, please, please buy a ticket." How many of us do that? How many of us watch the people around us do that? It's always interesting to me when people simply pray for certain things. A lot of people think that prayer is I ask, I get. I ask, I get. There's a big missing piece there. When you pray, when you ask for things in your life, what you're actually praying for is to be the catalyst of change in your life. Who are you willing to become to bring that vision to life? It's a very different way of thinking about it. And so what most people do is they say that they want something. They pray for it. And then when the challenges start to pop up, or the struggles, and I like to call these gifts, when the gifts start to be given on how you're going to become the person that is available for the vision that you have created, you give up. And you go back to your stories. See, I knew I wasn't good enough. I knew that everybody else can have this thing, but I can't. I knew that I wasn't smart enough, pretty enough, didn't have enough money. Whatever it is, whatever stories you've been telling yourself your whole life, you will default back to them so quickly. All while whoever it is that you pray to is going, what? What are you doing? I gave you the opportunity to have exactly what you want. We can't see through the struggle, through the challenges. Again, gifts come in many forms. And you can't see the prayer. The prayer was, help me become the type of person, help me become the best version of me that is available for this vision. We just want the vision plopped into our laps. Here you go. That is why when people who win the lottery, most people who win the lottery end up back in the exact same financial situation that they were in before they won the lottery, if not worse, because they never changed who they were. They didn't change their beliefs. They didn't change their thoughts. They didn't change their habits. So they didn't get the gift of slowly becoming the person that could hold that amount of money and hold it with a sense of grace and power, and not like internal power. Okay. When I say power, I'm always talking inner power. And they're able to hold that and make different decisions. They didn't get that gift of being able to become that person before they had the present, before they had what they'd wished for. And so they end up right back where they were. That is the power of your limiting beliefs. That is the power of your habits. That is the power of all the things that have of your ego being able to hold you back. It wouldn't matter what you were given if you have not become the person that you need to become to hold it and hold it with the responsibility that it deserves. So this has nothing to do with knowledge. You can have all the knowledge in the world about what limiting beliefs are, what habits are, what your habits are. You could have all of this knowledge. We don't have a knowledge problem in our world. We have a learning, or we have a constant learning problem. Really. We're always learning. But nobody wants to take the action. Nobody wants to be the catalyst of change in their life. And that requires action. It requires you to boldly step into the woman that you need to be before you feel like you're ready to hold that vision that you have created. Growth happens when you have the courage to keep showing up every single day and keep embracing the discomfort of doing what you've never done to live a life you've never lived. I believe that this is possible for everyone. But so many people aren't willing to take any responsibility and take any action to get there. So why? What gets in people's way? This module, we're not adding anything. We're taking things away, actually. So when a sculptor, like imagine a sculptor standing in front of a block of marble or a giant piece of clay or whatever it is, she might have a vision that she's going to create this massive elephant sculpture. I love elephants. And as she takes the hammer and chisel to that block, she begins to remove everything from the block that is not the elephant, until at the end, all that remains is the elephant. This process is not about learning more. Actually, a lot of this process is about unlearning. It's about removing a lot of these things that we thought were who we are, until we start to get back to our soul, our core essence, our divine blueprint. And we do that through lifting the masks that we've been wearing. We do that by identifying who we're not. You know, the word persona is actually mask in Latin. So when you think about that, how many masks, how many different types of personalities have we put on over the years because we thought that we needed to be somebody else other than ourselves? That in order to be successful, you had to be this person. That in order to have a certain type of life, you had to become this person. In order to be loved and accepted, you definitely couldn't be yourself. So you had to become this person. How many different people are you? So what we do is we start to develop these personas, these beliefs, these habits, these thoughts that keep us from actually reaching our full potential because they don't bring us closer to who we are. They bring us further and further away. Every time we add a mask, we add a persona, we're getting further away from who we actually are. But our ego likes to collect things. It would rather have too much of everything than not enough of anything. So instead of saying, no, I don't really need that one, you just it keeps bringing them in. Now let's have all these things. And your ego is there. Your ego is there to keep you safe. It's not a bad thing. It's what makes us human. It's beautiful. There's a lot of good things. It has a bad rap, okay? However, when you go to step outside of your comfort zone, the ego doesn't like that. And it's going to scream, oh my gosh, no, 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 anything but that. Do not make me do that. I can't do that. And that is when you know you have struck a limiting belief. When your mind screams at you that you cannot do it, you know. So there's some red flags that come along with these limiting beliefs. Okay? Like you feel this, it's the things that pop up when you feel this deep sense of discomfort. Things that shouldn't feel like that big of a deal become paralyzing to you. It's a limiting belief. So consider that. What are the things in your life that you feel a deep sense of discomfort around? Is it public speaking? Is it being around too many people? Is it being a boss? Is it having an open conversation with somebody? Is it confrontation? So many different things. What is it? Your limiting beliefs can also pop up by what keeps showing up in your life. What are the cycles of behavior that feel like you are always going through the same thing, just at different times in your life? For some people, this could be your weight or your health. This could be your finances. This could be relationships. Do you keep finding yourself in the same type of relationship over and over and over and wondering why? If it keeps showing up in your life, it's likely tied to a limiting belief that you have in that area. So, what are those things for you? In the last module, I asked you to not blame, complain, or get defensive about things. What are the things you're getting defensive about? What are the things you tend to blame other people for? What are you always complaining about? You see, when you play the victim in your own story, you know that you're uncovering a limiting belief that you have. If you find yourself really always blaming other people or other things about a certain aspect of your life, then bingo, you nailed it. What is it? What is the limiting belief? And you don't even have to know the exact limiting belief today, okay? I don't want you to get too far down that rabbit hole. I want you to understand where they're popping up. I want you to start to build an awareness around what are those things for you. Another really, really solid way of knowing is when you say this statement, I will be happy when dot, dot, dot. When will you be happy? Is it once you fix a part of me, a part of yourself? Is it when you finally get there? Is it when you finally have a certain amount of money, or you finally you fit into a pair of jeans that you've been looking to fit into? Is it once you finally have this perfect job, or once you finally get married? I added finally. But when will you be happy? What is the limiting belief? What is it? And then another one is, and this one feels sometimes a little bit counterintuitive, but remember, the ego likes to stay safe. It likes to stay comfortable. It does not like to be uncomfortable. So the moment that you start to get uncomfortable, it's going to pull you back. It's going to try to pull you back into that comfort zone. So what are the areas in your life you have become too comfortable? When you are sitting there and you are just so comfortable with everything, you are indeed not living up to your fullest potential and probably not sharing your unique gifts with the world. Our limiting beliefs are literally there to keep you comfortable and to keep you safe. And it's not until you become uncomfortable that you're going to be able to move beyond them. So, in any of the things that I have asked you to do so far, how many of them have you said, well, I'm just going to take this tiny step because that's a comfortable step? Take the big leap. Get uncomfortable. Don't do just what bring like that. Like you're still comfortable. You're just like slightly less comfortable. No, I'm asking for discomfort, uncomfortable. Your ego is going to say, okay, well, I'll give you a little flex point on that. Go. Whoop. And guess what that's going to do for your life? But if you say, thank you, ego, I appreciate the fact that you're trying to keep me comfortable and you're trying to keep me safe. However, I'm going to make this leap. I'm going to leap. I'm not going to bloop. I'm going to leap so far outside of my comfort zone that I have no choice but to grow through it. I have no choice but to let go of those limiting beliefs that have kept me in that little tiny bucket for so long. I have no choice but to do more than that. And here's the crazy thing about our limiting beliefs is that most of them we didn't agree to. Most of them we were taught by someone around us, or society taught us, or somebody taught us to be afraid of this. Or don't make too much noise. Don't rock the boat too much. Dress like a lady, like whatever it happens to be. These limiting beliefs have been given to us in so many ways. And going back to our first call is it's not about whose fault it is. It is not about who is to blame for the belief. If you want to get stuck in that game, you won't move forward either. It doesn't matter where they came from. What matters is that you see them and you do what it takes to shift them. So, what do you need to do to shift them? There's a lot of things. I just told you one of them, right? I just told you one of them. One of the big things is to recognize them and then say, okay, how could I take a giant leap to make myself so uncomfortable that I don't have to, I have no choice but to let this limiting belief go? That's one way. Another way is this thing that is called the thought model. And what the thought model is this is the process of taking unintentional thoughts, bringing them into your awareness, and then becoming more intentional with your thoughts. These are simply like they're patterns of thought that happen. There's not something wrong with you. Remember that your limiting beliefs are actually not you at all. They are personas or masks that you've picked up along the way. Some of them you've put on to please others. Some of them you have taken on without your permission, but you get to change them. But to change them, it's going to require patience, compassion, and forgiveness. Okay? Patience, compassion, and forgiveness. This will not happen overnight because this is what I'm talking about. It is the gorges that have been created in your brain. You are now creating little streams every time you notice one and you say, oh, hold on. That one doesn't serve me. Let's pick again. So I'm actually going to attach another video where I'm going to explain the thought model because I want to be able to write it out for you and you can understand how to utilize this particular tool. I got this tool from one of my amazing friends, and her name is Diane Murphy. And I want to be able to share it with you because it's a really good way to understand how to begin to shift some of these limiting beliefs. And a lot of them can be shifted just by bringing them into your awareness and then choosing different. What are you going to replace it with? It's not always enough to just know they're there. This is something that I have found in human behavior, and a big reason why I actually utilize human design as such a powerful tool is because we need something to replace that with. We need something to replace it. We can't just say, oh, I don't want that anymore. Because then you're pushing it away and it fights even harder to come back. It's, I see you. Remember, we're not mad, not upset. I see you. Thank you for trying to keep me safe. And this is what I'm going to choose instead. So I'll explain more of that in the thought model. Now, I want you to understand that you are amazing. I'm going to say that again. You are amazing. And make sure you do the worksheet that's attached to this because I want you to see all the ways in which you're amazing. Okay. Before we go, I'm going to give you one final thing to keep in mind as you're going through this process. And it's something called the emotional cycle of change. This process of personal development, self-growth, evolution, whatever it is that you are working towards in your life right now, it's going to get hard. Everything for the most part, gets harder before it gets easier. But that's why we have to stick with things. Life can change in an instant. And just when you are about to quit, something happens that shifts everything. And there will be moments along this journey that you say, is this really worth it? It is, I promise, but you do have to stick. You can't treat this as something that you're just doing for a short period of time. You've got to stay with it. Because the longer you can stay, the longer that you can hold, the more profound the changes will be in your life. But here's what's going to happen, because this is what happens with our goals, with our desires, the things that we want. We go through the emotional cycle of change. And this is part of understanding your emotional intelligence. Okay. And what happens is, no matter what it is, and I like to use like diets because I think everyone can relate to this in some way or another, is when you go to start a new diet, you're up here. You're in this place of all you can see is the good, right? Like, so let's say you're going to start like keto. Okay. So if you're not familiar with keto, which I'm sure everyone is, it's like a very high fat, low carb diet. High fat, high protein, low carb. So you go into it and you're like, this is going to be amazing. I'm going to lose so much weight. I'm going to get that six pack I always wanted. I'm going to be able to eat bacon and butter, and I'm going to be able to just like, this is going to be awesome. Awesome. We're so excited. Right. And then we start to go down the emotional cycle and we get to a place where we realize maybe it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Ooh, this is a little harder than I thought. I didn't realize how many things had carbs in them. I didn't realize what happened if I didn't eat quite as many vegetables. I didn't realize that like how hard it was going to be to pass up cake at the birthday party. So we're starting to see that like it's not all positive. Positive and negative can be relative, okay? But for the sake of this, we're going to use the words. And then what happens is you go into down here. This right here is the valley of despair. When all you can see is how hard something is, all you can see is the struggle, all you can see is the challenges. And it feels like that's the place that you get stuck in for the longest period of time. So when you're in the valley of despair, you are like, this sucks. I hate everything about this. I can't have cake. I can't have ice cream. I can't even go out with my friends. I can't. I'm not losing any weight. I haven't even lost any weight. Why would I continue to do this? Why? Why would I do it? And most people, they get to this valley of despair and they quit. They quit because they have no holding power. What they want to do, because when things get tough, what they do is they quit and they find something new. Okay, I'm going to do intermittent fasting. So I'm going to not eat for 16 hours a day, but I can eat anything I want for 8 hours a day. This is going to be so amazing. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait for this. I'm going to prep everything on Monday and it's going to be amazing. Drink so much coffee. That's what I would think. And then they're going to get back to that valley of despair. And when they get there, they're going to go back. I'm going to count macros. That's going to be. What we don't realize is that we just have to hold through that valley of despair, hold when everything feels hard, hold when you really can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, but it's got to be coming. This is where faith comes in. This is where trust in yourself comes in. Hold. Because what happens is it starts to go up. I lost a few pounds. Somebody complimented you. Hey, you look like really healthy. Oh, I feel like I have more like my brain is clearer. And then you go all the way back up and you complete the cycle. And when you complete the cycle, that is the light. You're like, oh my gosh, I did it. I got through it. And I feel amazing. And look at how great I am. And I have so much more confidence in who I am and what I can do and what I'm capable of because I went through the whole cycle and I came out the other side. Every time we go through that emotional cycle of change, we allow ourselves to gain so much confidence in who we are and what we have to offer and how strong we are. You have to hold when it gets hard. You have to be willing to know without knowing how you know that this is worth it. There may be no evidence of that. Nothing tangible that you can grab onto and say, oh, just let it keep pulling me through. This is when you reach down into the depths of your soul and you reach up to whoever it is that you pray to and you say, help me hold. Help me become the person that can hold until I start to see the light on the other side. So be aware of the emotional cycle of change in your life. Because that ability to hold is what a lot of people don't have. So, again, make sure you check out the video on the thought model to allow yourself to feel into that process as you start to make these shifts. Allow yourself to go through the journaling prompts, give yourself the opportunity, start to notice how many of these things pop up in your life. And what are they stopping you from becoming? You know, I always say that there is nothing scarier to me than getting to the end of my life, whenever that may be, and wishing that I had done it different. And a mentor one time said, live this chapter the way you want to tell it. Do you want to tell this story, this chapter of your life, from a place of, it got hard and I gave up? I let every story that had been put on me stop me. This is coming up for me big, so I'm going to share it with you. Write the story that you want to live. Literally, I want you to do this. What is the story of your life that you want to tell? I want you to write it down. I want you to feel into it. And what of these things is going to stop you from getting there? How can you start to write this chapter different? How do you want to write it? I'm sure it's not that I gave up. It got hard. I stopped listening to the modules because it seemed like it was a little too much work. Stacey told me some things I didn't want to hear. No. Write the chapter that says, I never gave up on myself. I knew at the depths of my soul that there was more for me, and I was willing to do what it took to get there. I was willing to hold, I was willing to get uncomfortable. This is who I was willing to become in that process. And I look back on that chapter, and I have never been more grateful for a moment of time when I took responsibility for the life that I was living and I decided to create something different. I chose in that moment and I never looked back. That's the story that I want you to tell. I feel complete with that. Okay. Dive into the journal prompts. Give yourself some time to dive into those and really feel your way through this particular module before going on to the next one. And in the next module, we're going to talk about fear and what fear has the power to do and how it shows up. So I will see you on the next module.